Alright, so I figured I would do some more close-up video and show you guys some of the details and the way that these dolls can pose, because they're so odd. They're not like anything else. But also just to show you the differences. Their bodies are the same, but the heads are different. Both of their jaws move like this. But this is the Seed doll, and this is the Rot doll, just so you see the difference in horn style. So, yeah. So I'll just keep one to show you the posing. So I guess we'll start the wings. They are strung, so they're not magnetic, so they move and whatnot. And it's a resin kind of hook sort of deal, and there's a dot and a divot for keeping the wing sort of in place with the ball joint. Its main body has one torso joint, which so this is all the way up, so his head is pretty much kind of straight with his tail, and then he can go back some, so his tail ends up being more like 90 degrees from his head, which gives him a lot of motion for balancing, because it ends up the tail is very important for the dragon to be able to balance. The head doesn't have too much range of motion, so this is about as far back as it'll go. If we go down, it doesn't really move a ton, but I think with some sueding in that joint, I think it would improve quite a bit. So, but his head's pretty big, so that really weighs on him being able to move too. The horns and stuff don't move as a joint at all. They do come apart. I'll show that later. His jaw does move if it's in place like it's supposed to be. Their way their head is held together isn't the best in the world, but it just moves up and down. The arms have shoulder joint, elbow joint, and then a wrist joint, which the wrist has a good bit of movement, assuming that it's not strung too tight. Like, it seems like one hand will tend to always work better than the other, because it seems like one ends up being tighter than the other. But for how stumpy their arms are, you can work out a good bit of motion, which is pretty cool. Then their legs, it's a peg and post kind of deal, so it just twists. And then their foot has a ball joint, and that can move some, not a ton, but some. Works well enough. And yeah, that's pretty much their posing. Their heads come apart the same way, so it's like a faceplate system that's really weird, with a magnet on top. And the horns both sit in these little areas. They're shaped differently, obviously, but they're held in by the magnet holding the faceplate back against little grooves on the head. It doesn't work very well. I'm going to be figuring out some way to make it work better. I think I'm going to do magnets to at least hold the horns in, because once, if the horns are taken out of the equation, the head typically stays in place pretty decently, but it's kind of fumbly, which I'm not really sure. There we go. Yeah. So, but and then the head part is held on by this little plastic hook deal, and then behind that is Eileen Doll's little plastic key stamp thing, whatever. Yeah, but that's it. The magnets came already glued in. I didn't have to do anything. so there's no worry of misaligning anything. Oh, actually, I see what the problem is. The faceplate for this kept running into the silicone that I have in for the eyes, so this should actually work better once I get all that cleaned up. But yeah, that's Petdoll Dragon basics, and just the head with the horn style changes. So yeah.